Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. This time we're going to take a deep dive into this ArtifyAI thing. That's been making the rounds online, turning photos and sketches into different art styles, all thanks to the wonders of AI.
Yeah, I've seen it around too. It looks pretty interesting. Like it could be more than just hype.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got some articles here and user guides, even some forum discussions about ArtifyAI. We're going to break it all down for you, figure out what it's all about, how it works, and maybe even get you thinking about how you could use it to make some art yourself.
Sounds good to me.
So let's just jump right in. What exactly this ArtifyAI, and how does it turn like a regular photo into a Van Gogh?
Well, the secret sauce is something called style transfer. It's this whole area of AI research. It's really interesting. Basically, the AI behind ArtifyAI has been trained on this huge database of artwork, so it's learned all the patterns, the brushstrokes, the colors of all these different artists and styles.
So it's not just copying, it's like it's learned how to actually paint like them.
Yeah, pretty much. When you upload a photo, the AI looks at it, figures out what's in it, and then uses what it's learned to redraw it in whatever style you choose.
Wow, that's wild. And you said this all happens in real time.
Yep. You can actually watch it transform. You can even play around with the settings, like how strong you want the style to be, or try out different variations.
So it's kind of like having your own digital art studio.
Exactly. And that's where the fun really starts. This isn't just about throwing a filter on a photo. You can mix styles, adjust the colors, even control the brush strokes. It gives you a crazy amount of control over how the final artwork looks.
Okay, so walk me through it. Like if I wanted to artify a photo, what do I actually do?
Okay, so picture this. You upload your photo, right? Could be anything, a landscape, a portrait, whatever. And then you get to browse through this massive library of styles. They've got everything from famous artists like Van Gogh and Picasso to different art movements like Impressionism or Cubism.
There must be so many options.
Oh, tons. You can even combine styles if you want. Like, what if you mixed Fauvism with the shapes of Cubism?
Whoa, now that's interesting.
Right. And then after you've picked your style, you can fine-tune everything. You can decide if you want the style to be really bold or more subtle. They have this intensity slider that lets you control that. Plus, you can mess around with the colors and the brush strokes until it's perfect.
So you're not just stuck with whatever the AI comes up with. You can actually be a part of the creative process.
Exactly. And that's what makes this so cool. It's not just about looking at art, it's about making it, even if you don't think you're an artist.
I love that. But let's take a step back for a second. It's easy to get caught up in like turning your selfie into a Renaissance painting, but it seems like ArtifyAI could have a much bigger impact than that.
Oh, definitely. It's not just a fun app, it's a tool. It could be used in education therapy, even professional creative work. And it really makes you think about what it means to be creative these days. Like, where does technology fit in with art?
Yeah, that's a really good point. I feel like we've only scratched the surface here.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
So where should we go next? I'm curious about those real-world applications you mentioned. Like, how is ArtifyAI being used in education or therapy? And what about people actually using it? What are their stories?
Let's dive into those stories next. I think that's where you really see the impact of ArtifyAI.
Okay, let's do it. So we know how ArtifyAI works,
Yeah.
but I want to know, like, why? You mentioned some pretty interesting uses for it besides just making cool art,
Right.
like in education.
Yes. Yeah, education's a big one. Imagine like using this in an art history class. Instead of just looking at pictures in a textbook, students could upload their own photos and see them turned into, Cubist paintings or Impressionist landscapes or whatever.
Oh, wow, that's a cool idea.
Right. It would make learning about all these different art styles so much more hands-on. And it's not just about the visuals either, by actually playing with the style transfer process. Students could start to understand like the underlying principles of each style, like how they use color and brushstrokes and composition. It might even inspire them to try and recreate those effects with real paint or pencils or whatever.
Yeah, so it's not replacing traditional art. It's more like adding to it, right?
Exactly. And think about how helpful this could be for visual learners. It could really bring those abstract concepts to life.
That's a good point. And you mentioned therapy, too.
Oh, yeah. Art therapy is already a really powerful tool,
Yeah.
for self-expression, for processing emotions, for healing even. But a lot of people are intimidated by the idea of like actually making art. They think they're not good enough or they don't have the skills.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Well, ArtifyAI takes that pressure away. It gives people a way to be creative without having to worry about being technically perfect. They can just focus on expressing themselves.
So it's like creating a safe space for people to explore their feelings and ideas.
Exactly. And I've heard some amazing stories about how people are using it in therapy. Like, there's this one therapist who uses it with clients who are dealing with grief. They create these stylized portraits of loved ones they've lost. It's a way for them to process their emotions and keep those memories alive.
Wow, that's really powerful.
It is. It shows how technology can be used in such a compassionate way.
Right.
It's a reminder that at the end of the day, this is all about people.
Yeah, even though it's AI, it's still a
Yeah.
way for us to connect with each other.
Absolutely. And speaking of connecting, I think it's time we hear some of those user stories. That's where you really see the magic of ArtifyAI.
Okay, I'm ready. Let's hear them.
So one story that stuck with me was about this young woman who used ArtifyAI to create a bunch of portraits of her grandmother. Her grandmother had Alzheimer's and was starting to lose her memories, but this woman was able to capture her grandmother's essence, her spirit, in these beautiful, vibrant artworks.
That's amazing. It's like a way to preserve those memories.
Yeah, exactly. It shows how art can go beyond words. It can even go beyond memory. And then there was this other story about a group of students who used ArtifyAI to create this big mural for their community center. Each student made their own piece inspired by their own experiences, and then they used ArtifyAI to blend them all together into one big artwork.
Oh, wow, that's so cool.
Right. It's a great way to bring people together.
And create something beautiful.
Exactly. And this isn't just happening in classrooms or community centers. There's this whole online community of ArtifyAI users. They share their work, they collaborate on projects, they inspire each other.
It's like a global art studio.
Yeah, it is. It's proof that art is all about connection.
About sharing our experiences with the world.
Exactly.
It's funny how we started by talking about the technical side of this, and now we're seeing how it's being used to express emotions and build communities, and even preserve memories.
It's pretty amazing, right?
It really is.
It shows how AI can not only make us more capable, but also make our lives richer.
Yeah, I agree.
It's exciting to think about where this could all lead.
Well, speaking of exciting, there's one more thing I want to talk about.
Yeah.
We've talked about the technology, and we've talked about how people are using it, but what about traditional art?
Ah, yes. The big question.
Right. Is ArtifyAI a threat to traditional art? Is it a tool? Is it something else entirely?
It's a tough question, and there's no easy answer.
So is it a threat? Is it a tool? What do you think?
Well, it's definitely causing a lot of debate in the art world. Some traditional artists see it as a threat, like it's going to devalue human skill and creativity. They're worried that people will stop appreciating real art.
Right. Yeah. I can see that. There's something special about a piece of art that's made by hand, with all the little imperfections and the artist's personality in it.
Absolutely. And we need to respect those concerns and have a real conversation about them. But here's the thing. I also see ArtifyAI as a potential game changer. Like, it could actually push art in new directions. Think of it as a new tool for artists, like alongside their paintbrushes and chisels and all that.
Yeah, like a new way to experiment and create.
Exactly. It's kind of like photography. When photography was invented, it didn't replace painting. But it did change how people saw the world, and it changed how artists approached their work. I think ArtifyAI could have a similar impact.
Right. So it's not about replacing traditional art. It's about giving artists more options, more ways to be creative.
Exactly. And don't forget about accessibility. ArtifyAI gives people who maybe don't have time for art classes or can't afford them a way to express themselves creatively. It could be a way for people to discover their artistic side.
Yeah, that's great. It's like democratizing art.
Exactly. It's not about AI versus humans. It's about AI and humans working together.
Right, a collaboration.
Who knows what we could create together?
That's what I find so fascinating about all this.
Yeah.
It's making us rethink what art is and what creativity means.
Yeah, it's an exciting time.
So to wrap things up, I want to leave our listeners with this thought.
Okay.
Whether you're a professional artist or just starting out, or even if you just enjoy looking at art, don't be afraid to try out AI tools like ArtifyAI. You might discover a whole new way to express yourself.
Yeah, give it a try. You might surprise yourself.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive, everyone. Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and keep diving deep.